Good afternoon, folks. You find me out here on a little bimble along. Lovely sunny day coming to the end of the riding season here in Scotland. And I thought I'd come out and make the most of this semi-glorious weather and do a wee piece to camera that I've been meaning to do for a while now. And that's about this little gadget here, Insta 360 1x2. And the question of, is this the only camera you need? So we'll cut off here up to the right onto the B776 towards Bowfield, and as we're bimbling along we'll have a wee discussion about that. So see you in a minute, folks. Right, so a couple of disclaimers to get out of the way first. All of my kit is owned by me. It's all been bought by me, spent my own money on it, and none of it has been supplied, so I've got absolutely no reason to ham it up about the products that I use unless I like them. So first and foremost, you're going to get an honest bit of feedback here. Secondly, as I said, I've been meaning to do a little bit of a video about this particular camera since I got it. I've had it probably 6-7 months now, and I'm getting used to using it. It's still a little bit of a learning process, but recently they're becoming more and more popular, and I think this model, the 1x2, has really opened up people's eyes to what these 360 cameras can do. And most recently, one of the motorbike vloggers, Andy Mancam, and his riding partner, if you want to call him that, a likeable rider, a couple of guys who live over in Germany, follow their channel, so good work guys, really good content. They've been using these more and more, and Andy actually did quite a detailed video, not so much on how to use, and I'm not going to do that either. There's plenty of videos out there that tell you technicalities of how to use these cameras, but what you can do with them, you know, what the kind of effects you can get, what are the options when you're riding on your bike for different types of shots that you can do. So, where do we start? So, using this camera is absolutely dead easy. From actual mounting it, as you can see here, there's so many different mounting options, places you can put it. Any mount, any camera mount, GoPro mount, etc. will work with this camera. At the moment I've got it screwed, got it screwed directly into a wee ball mount there, which just screws into the bottom of the camera. But if you've got the equivalent with a GoPro clip on the bottom of it, you can mount it to any GoPro mount at all. Works a treat. I was using this RAM mount here with the Insta selfie stick clamped into it, so that I could extend the camera out in front of me and get some backward facing shots, so that it looks like I've got a drone or I've got a camera car in front of me. Really cool effect, had some really good feedback on that. And you can do the same off the back of the bike and film as if you've got a chase cam on. And again, when I did that in a couple of videos ago, I got some really good feedback and people wondering, how the hell do you do that? And this is how you do it. But to make it look like a drone type shot or an independent camera filming you, you can't have any indication that it's sticking out in front of you like a big unicorn, which is what it is when it's on the pole, on the selfie stick. But because it's got two cameras, one front here and one on the other side, and they both film 180 degrees, the software pieces the two images together and hides the selfie stick. It is so cool. It just looks like you've got something hanging out in front of you, filming you with no attachment to the bike at all. Whereas if you view it from the action camera on the chin mount, you can quite clearly see I look like a bloody unicorn. Image quality, well, on a day like today where it's bright and sunny, every camera is going to perform at its best. Going through these shaded bits, you maybe get a bit of image drop off with the processor struggles to distinguish between the light areas and the dark areas, but generally it's really good. To say this camera here, the Insta, can do 5.7K, but it's 5.7K for the full 360 image. So if you want to pull a still off of that, or if you want to zoom in a forward facing way, then you do get a bit of image quality drop off, which that's the technology as it stands at the moment. There's nothing really that you can do about that. So, and it's not enough really to make it a deal breaker. Sound quality, same as every other camera with an internal microphone. This one's actually got 4 internal mics. To make it work with an external mic, you have to buy an adapter, clip that on the side, and then you would run your lavalier mic from the adapter, which means you would have a cable hanging out and connecting onto your jacket or onto your chin strap or whatever, or in whatever scenario you're using it. Which, if you want that, that's fine. I don't want that. I'm not interested in having that. So you need to then start looking at wireless audio setups like the Rode Wireless Go 2, which is something I'm really interested in. And I can't believe there's not more motorbike people talking about this setup. There's a few, but not many. And I'm really interested in trying that out and getting that for myself. Maybe that'll be a future video. You've got all this luggage clipped onto the side with a cable connecting it all up. And yes, it does in the post editing disappear from the image because of the stitch line. So that in itself isn't so much of an issue, but when you're clipping all of this stuff onto there, you're adding more timber to it. There's more weight on it, which is going to want it to rotate. We're going to go straight on here, sorry. Which is going to cause it to want to rotate in the same way as when you've got it fully extended out on the pole. Not too keen on that. Plus, with this shot, you're going to see all that coming there. Now, if that was the only camera, you wouldn't see it. So it's maybe not so much of an issue, but I don't like having all this extra bulky stuff out here. That is a really neat unit. It's a really neat solution. Very well designed. And I don't really want to ruin the lines of that. The other thing is, battery life in these is mega. Compared certainly to the action cameras. You get it probably 40-45 minutes out of the battery for this one, it's fully charged. I've had this running for over an hour and a half at times, constantly recording. And yeah, the battery life's brilliant for this type of thing. But there's another plus point. But for me, I think working as part of this setup, with the camera mounted on my chin, with the audio coming from this camera, I think this is the most user-friendly setup for me at the moment. The most versatile way to set this up. But I do love this camera. I do think it's really cool. Even if you just go out for a walk, stick on the end of the selfie stick, and you can get some brilliant shots. There you do it. Nice bike. Let's head to Coal1 and then we can cut back round. What we'll maybe do now. I'll maybe try and find a wee parking space and put this on a different mount. Of course, the other advantage of having the 360 camera is that you can stop and you can look around and you can film yourself doing things. Like walking around the front of the bike and trying to decide what point you want to hook it up onto. Stop next to this lovely wee church here, the village of Bensley, which I've never actually been in before. Beautiful. That's the first time I've tried this setup. Like I said before, magnetic mount on a tank. This wee screw-in piece. I don't trust that entirely on its own, and I don't trust it not to fall off, so I've clamped that up here. A little bit sugary, but actually the image stabilisation on these cameras is really good. Let's see how this goes. See what I mean about looking like a unicorn? Scotland's national animal after all. Wrong fucking thing, Colin. You no bend. Let's see how we get on with this. Like I say, I've never been this way before. Let's go back to the right. I'm going to have to be careful here because if anything comes along this side of the road, it'll probably wipe out the camera. Proved to be pretty solid, quite like that setup. Of course, one of the other advantages of a 360 camera is that if for whatever reason you happen to get involved in a bit of a accident, then the camera's going to pick it up from any angle. These ones are all well and good, but they only look where you're looking. If somebody was to wipe you out from the side or come at you from behind, then you're going to be able to spin it around in the post edit and actually get a clue for what happened. Yeah, you need to excuse the state of the bike, folks. Roads are a wee bit minging around the farms these days, this time of year. You see now we've clamped the Insta 360 1x2 to the centre stand. Try and get some shots, rear facing shots of the back wheel in motion. Because the other thing you need to be aware of with these 360 cameras is that the lenses are quite vulnerable. And if you scratch one, it's your camera done. So for that reason I've got plastic lens protectors on them. They might add a little bit of sun glare to it, possibly. But I'd rather know that the lens is protected. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this setup for getting some front wheel action, but we'll give it a go. I've cable tied it here just to stop it from falling off or stop it from swinging about too much under vibration and putting too much strain on the indicator stock. So we'll see how we get on. Probably not going to go too far with it like this. So one of the things I've not talked about actually is the waterproof element of this camera. Now, DJI do have problems with their osmo actions. Even this one, the front screen's steaming up, which doesn't bother me so much. I don't use the front screen particularly. It does show that there's moisture getting in somewhere. But this one, the osmo, not the osmo action, the Insta 360 1X2, I've had strapped to the front of a submersible. Now, to be fair, it probably was no deeper than 6 or 7 metres. But it was in the water for a full battery, over a full battery, it was in the water for 3 hours. And came back up, from what I can tell, with no ill effects. So these things are rugged, folks. Well, let's take an opportunity then to go up here, because this is quite a cool wee avenue of trees. Been up here before and taking some pictures. How cool is that? Canopy. I think we'll just stop in here because that looked pretty spectacular when we came by here earlier. We'll try and get turned around. Look at that. I actually wish I'd brought the drone now. Oh well. Another day. Oh. I didn't actually realise how big this was. It's huge. Anyway, that's not why we're out. Why we're out is to talk about the Insta 360 1X2. I've had a little bit of a buzz about. Played about with some camera angles, some successful, some not so. And we said we were going to come to some conclusions about the Insta 360 1X2. And the question of the day was, could this be your only action camera in your arsenal? And I genuinely think it could be, but with some limitations if you did have it. The biggest limitation of all being the sound. The sound out of the unit itself, whilst reasonable when you're sitting talking to it in a studio type environment, is decent enough. Certainly for just amateur YouTubers. Buzzing along at 60-70 miles an hour on a motorbike, it's not going to cope with it. Or if you're using it in any capacity where your preferred way of mounting your camera is to put it on a chest mount, then there really is no point, because you're not going to want to see all of this. Because largely that's what you're going to see. If you mounted it flat out, it's very vulnerable, it'll get in the way. So yes, you can use it as a sole camera, action camera, and if you've only got room for one, you've got the money to spend, then I'm not going to say you shouldn't buy this. Absolutely no way. Image quality, versatility, little doggy, all that stuff. Yeah, this is probably one of the most usable cameras on the market. the fact that you get the free editing software both on mobile and for your laptop or your desktop computer is awesome, and the fact that it is very usable just adds to the package. But if you want the full package, I genuinely think you're going to have to go with, this has been a combination with other cameras such as the GoPros, or in this instance the DJI Osmo Action. Personally, I love this camera. I absolutely love it. I'm enjoying using it. It's added another element to this little bit of fun that I do on YouTube. I've never uploaded a video as a pure 360 video before, so if I decide I'm going to do that, it will appear on my channel as a separate entity, so you can pull it about, you can manipulate it, you can look wherever you want to look, whether you want to be looking at me, let's face it, who wouldn't, or whether you want to be just looking around in the fields. If I can use this camera and get something out of it, then anybody can use it, in all honesty. I hope you've enjoyed this wee public information film. If you have, hit the like button please. If you're so inclined to do so, please subscribe. I'm not doing this for any reason other than a bit of fun, but it is nice to know that people out there like what you're doing. But if you don't like it, or you think I could have done it better, feel free to give it a dislike. It's your prerogative. But whether it's a dislike or a like, let me know. Let me know what it is in the comments about why you feel the way you do about the video. Meantime, I hope you're all well. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you next one, folks. Ta-ta.